Hello, I'm David Luna. I'm City Councilman for District 5, City of Mesa. Today we're going to talk to you about a very important subject, and that is the dangers associated with hiking. Now in my area, we have in District 5, we have Usery Pass. And there are many, many dangers associated with hiking, and there are many preventive things that we need to do. We have a video clip from Lambert, who's going to talk to you about her personal experience while hiking in Usery Pass. We want to make sure that you learn from this video clip to protect yourselves and to make sure that when you're in the desert that you know what to do in case you are in danger. So let's watch the clip now.
So I was in a really, really tough spot. I was right next to a huge drop-off. I wasn't really on a trail. There's a huge slant, and so it was really hard to work around and try to get me down without falling more off that huge drop-off that I was by. My name is Lambert. I just graduated from Red Mountain High School. I'm 18 years old, and I'm planning on going up to Eastern Arizona College this fall. I don't really like sitting on the couch and doing nothing. I love being outside, being in the water. I love swimming and going to the lake, cliff jumping.
Yeah, this type of climb would not be challenging for Allie just because of her prior experience in the outdoors. She's very active. She wakeboards, she snowboards, she horseback rides. You know, she's hiked that cliff and many others.
So my daughter Allison asked me if she could go on a date with this guy named Cameron, who I know his dad real well, so I had no concerns with that. They were gonna go hiking, go up to the Wind Caves here in Mesa. Not a problem. She's capable. She's has tons of ability. So wasn't worried about it in the least bit. Good kids together, having a good time.
I woke up at about 4 o'clock that morning. We planned on leaving to go to the mountain at about 5. And so I just got up and I got ready. Just like any other normal day, I was really excited. I had never met this guy before, so I was really excited to go on a date with him.
Picked her up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was with my brother and his date. When we got to the very bottom of Usery Pass for the Wind Caves, what happened was we just started hiking. It was a normal day, really early in the morning.
We made it to the top at about 6. It was a super easy hike. There's no difficulties. I've hiked it several times before. I know the trail well, and so we started hiking, and it was nice and cool out. It wasn't hot. We had made it to the top. I had still had a lot of energy in me. I was like, I want to go exploring. I want to go see what's new. And so we went around to the side, and I was like, oh, I want to climb up these mountains and see what's happening. And then we made it up to I climbed up a little higher, and it's like, all right, this doesn't really look so good. I'm up really high, and I want to get back down now. And I kind of got a little nervous trying to get down because I didn't have a way to get down. And then the rocks broke, and I fell.
All of a sudden the rocks broke. They broke from under her hands and her feet. Honestly, when I was looking at it, it was just all slow motion. And she falls, lands on her back, and just starts rolling. And there was seriously no possible way that she could stop.
As I was falling, my feet hit first, and then I kind of sat down, and my back hit. And I remember I got a shooting pain through that. That was the only thing I really felt. And I started rolling and rolling and rolling, and I stopped really abruptly right before a huge drop-off. I remember laying there, I yelled for Cameron, my date, to come down, and I was like, my back is hurting, I need to move, this is uncomfortable. So they kind of went to turn me. My ankle kind of, and so then they realized, all right, we can't move you anymore.
I called the parents first because that's what I felt like it was the right thing to do, was make sure that our parents knew. So that phone call was pretty crazy.
My phone rang at 6:30 from Cameron saying, hey, there's been an accident.
I said, your daughter fell. She fell off the cliff. She fell 10 to 15 feet.
He told me that Allie had broken her ankle. They were pretty sure of that. I asked them where they were. Then I had to decide, do I go up there?
Jaron got on the phone immediately with 911, and Rachel, the girl that was with me as well, her and Cameron decided that they needed to clean the wounds as much as they could.
And Rachel, we had a lot of water, which was really good, and we just started cleaning the wounds. She had a big gash on her hand, And so, okay, we gotta clean that out, make sure it doesn't get infected.
We called 911 and got the firefighters up there. They were checking my vitals, got my ankle and my wrist all bandaged up and made sure I was okay. So once they got up there, they helped a lot.
Once you guys arrived and were on scene, it was really impressive to see your knowledge, your experience, your calmness, the counseling that went on between each other. I think this is a better spot. Well, what about this? Let's talk to Phoenix. Let's talk to DPS. It was really impressive to just stand there and listen to all the chatter and the professionalism.
It helps put your mind at ease as a parent, knowing that your daughter's going to be taken care of, to see that.
Yeah, so whether they took her down in the wheel or they took her down in the bird, I wasn't worried about it because the professionals were there and we're in good hands.
So it was really hard to like work around and try to get me down without falling more off that huge drop off that I was by. So they got me in a big cradle crate type thing, strapped me up super good. And they decided that they needed to carry me up the mountain back to where I had fallen. They all just kind of like took turns moving and pulling me up.
And so what they did, they were thinking, okay, can we do like a line drop? And so could we have the helicopter just spinning above and we drop a line down and then carry her out? Or they said we could do the skid, where they had one skid on the mountain where she actually fell and one skid off, having the helicopter keep going. And that's what they decided.
They decided to get a helicopter to come in and put one ski on the mountain and then push me in and then go. And so that was pretty like nerve-wracking, I guess, that I was going to be hanging off the mountain at one point and about where I'd fallen with this helicopter that's on one ski.
Well, we weren't sure what the injuries were. We knew for sure her ankle was a problem and her back was bothering her, but it wasn't until we got to the hospital that we realized the severity of her ankle and the breaks that were in her ankle.
So when I had gotten to the hospital and they had like looked at me and saw what was wrong, I had 3 bones broken in my ankle. One of them was a compound fracture, so the bone came out of my skin. My right heel was broken and my left wrist was broken as well.
But to listen to them talk about surgery on the ankle, shattered in 3 places, surgery on her heel, casts for months on both legs, wheelchair bound, and all of these things that are up in the air and unknown. When she got home, she can't go upstairs, so it's sleeping in the recliner, Kim on the couch, to the bathroom, to the shower.
Her brother carrying her upstairs, up and downstairs on his back.
The wheelchair alone. I mean, it's not been an easy thing.
When I stand for a long time or move my wrist a certain way, I get super sore and I ache and my back hurts a lot and I can't run or do anything because I have a lot of pain with that. The doctor said that I would probably only make it to about 90%, and he said it'll take maybe about 1.5 years, 2 years before my ankle is back to the best that it can be. I definitely want to hike, but I actually took a hike the other day. It was just a super small one. I had to go really slow because of my ankle, but yeah, it's definitely not stopping me from going out and having more adventures. I just probably would do them a little differently and maybe not be so risk-taking. Well, definitely always be prepared. Always have water, always have good shoes, always have kind of an experience or a knowledge of what you're going out to hike, and don't really do anything that doesn't look safe. When I was hiking, it didn't really look like it was the best situation, and it obviously wasn't. I fell. So just really be prepared, stay on the trails.
Make sure you have cell phone service, stay on the trail, be with somebody, don't go alone, and have fun.
Thank you, Allie, for sharing that very important information. Obviously, Allie veered off the path, the hiking path, and that presents many challenges. Today we have Dean Morales, who is a captain for the Mesa Fire and Medical Department. Dean, I was wondering, could you talk to me about some of the challenges that you experience as a firefighter and dealing with these kind of situations?
Sure. Well, first of all, these calls require lots of manpower, and it requires a skilled team to perform these rescues. And so what typically happens is we have the first responding company get to the scene, and they try to do a recon and try to determine the location, any injuries, and any additional hazards. At the same time, we have our technical rescue team responding. And these folks are trained with ropes and various other skills that are useful with assisting people down the mountain. And so, but we like to refer to these calls as high-risk, low-frequency calls. And so they don't happen very often, but when they do, they can be very taxing, very challenging, and it takes a lot of pre-planning and training so that we can safely and be successful in bringing these citizens down to the bottom.
What can we do as a community to assist hikers, to tell them about the dangers that are associated with hiking? We hear many times in the news of somebody going off the beaten path and doing their own trail, and oftentimes they find themselves in very dangerous situations. So what would you recommend that we do in terms of trying to educate the community to make sure that they do stay on the trails?
Well, we need to get the message out to our residents here in the valley, as well as to the visitors that are coming to the valley. Mm-hmm. We have beautiful desert here and great hiking opportunities, but we need to make sure that they understand the risk. And those risks are, well, first of all, there's several risks. With the temperatures that we're dealing with, it's really important to start hydrating the day before the hike. Because once you start hiking and you get thirsty, it's too late. And so you want to hydrate before the hike and throughout the hike. I think that hydration packs are a great way to go. Cell phones, very important to have cell phones with them, especially if they're by themselves, to be able to communicate with their family and friends if something was to go wrong. I think it's a great idea for them, for the hikers, if they are going to venture out on their own, to let somebody know where they're going, what time they should be back home, so that if you don't show up, they can call 911 or start investigating why you haven't returned yet.
Dean, I know it's really important in the desert to wear light clothing to make sure that you stay cool and you're protected. What other safety tips would you recommend for a hiker that's going to be going to our deserts?
And one is they need to be dressed appropriately. Light colored clothing in the heat that can help reflect the heat. Sturdy shoes that are designed for hiking. Sunscreen. I'd recommend sunglasses and a hat.
One of the things that we need to talk about are some of our venomous critters that we find in the desert area. Dean, can you talk to us about what happens if you encounter a rattlesnake, a scorpion, or even a Gila monster? What should someone do when they're hiking?
Well, it's actually pretty simple, and my advice would be stay clear.
Stay away from them.
Stay away.
Yeah.
They typically don't bother you unless you get into their space.
Right.
So stay away, and if they're on the trail, there's no way of getting past them, then it would be my recommendation to turn around and take the hike another day.
Would you recommend a basic first aid kit in terms of going hiking?
Sure, absolutely. And what I would recommend is that obviously you don't want to be weighted down too much, but just some Band-Aids, maybe even an ice pack, a comb for removing choyas. We noticed when Ellie was injured, they had some extra equipment with them. They were able to help stop the bleeding and try to stabilize her a little bit, waiting for the fire department to respond. So not a bad idea at all to have some type of first aid kit with you.
Dean, I was wondering if you could speak to us relative to the training that you experience that all fire department personnel go through to ensure that when somebody does go hiking and they don't decide not to go on the trail, that you're able to rescue them. What kind of training do you have that would make the community feel comfortable?
Well, our technical rescue technicians, initially, their training consists of 200 hours of training. And it's everything from learning to operate with ropes, learning to work with helicopters. As in this case, we had to rescue Ellie using a helicopter. And there's quite a few hazards with that, so real extensive training with that. We deal with swift water rescues, flash floods. trench collapse, palm tree rescues. These are all types of scenarios that we train for. And the mountain rescue is probably one of the most common rescues that we're called to.
Mm-hmm. And now these training experience that you're speaking about, is this ongoing as, is this something that every firefighter goes through on a yearly basis or every 6 months, or how does that work?
Again, it's the technical rescue technicians, and in the city of Mesa, we have 2 teams. And so we train every Tuesday, all year round. And we train with our neighboring cities also. So we all train together and we respond together. So many times when we respond to usury, we'll also receive help from Superstition Fire and Medical. And they have a team also that's trained to the exact same standards that we are.
Dean, how many of these calls do you respond to annually?
Well, across the valley, the greater Phoenix area, we responded in 2014 to over 300 of these calls. And now in 2015, over 200 of these calls have been dispatched already. So you can see that the numbers are climbing every year, and that's why it's really important for us to get this message out to all the residents of the valley who like to hike, who are thinking about hiking, and as well as the visitors that come into this valley that like to partake in this beautiful desert we have and thinking about hiking.
So if you were to give final advice to somebody that's potentially going to hike, what is it that you would tell them?
I would say stay on the trail, have a phone, preferably hike with a partner. I would say know your limitations. That's huge, knowing your limitations. And the hikers need to remember, especially when they're first starting out, that if they're hiking 2 miles out, that there's a 2-mile return. And so we'd like to encourage our hikers to start out slow and work their way up to the longer distances.
Well, we want to thank Dean Morales from Mesa Fire and Medical Department. Thank you so much for this very important information. I appreciate that you're here to protect our community, and I'm sure our community appreciates you as well. For more information, contact our website at www.mesaaz.gov under Fire and Medical. Thank you so much.